All right, everyone. So welcome to our virtual launch of Sophie Jordan's new book. I'm excited to have everybody. Sarah MacLean and Sophie Jordan are with us. It's pretty exciting. I want to make sure, take a couple of seconds so that everybody can log in and get comfortable, because I have a feeling this is going to be a great conversation this evening.
Yes, it will be unlike other virtual launches, I promise.
What does that mean? We haven't discussed this at all. So am I supposed to do something amazing?
You're already amazing with your mermaid hair.
Thank you. This is what happens when you do not go to the hairdresser for a pandemic, for the length of a pandemic. You just go full hag. To embrace it.
You get hag and then from mermaid hair.
Those are two totally separate mythological creatures.
Yes, they are.
So True. Just to make sure that everybody is familiar, all the attendees out there, we cannot see you. You can see and hear us. There is a Q&A box somewhere on your screen or in a drop down. And there is also going to be a chat box the whole time, so you guys can talk amongst yourselves. We can see the Q&A box. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them, and we will check on that throughout this. And don't spam us though.
Tell us in the chat box where you're from too. Susan already said she's here from Chicago. Hi, Susan.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, Susan from Chicago.
This is my new thing. Everybody, well, now who knows when we're going to do in-person events ever again, but just set that aside. But as we were sort of thinking, like moving toward this, like in-person events are starting up again, I was like, but I kind of like virtual events because everybody can hang out together.
It's kind of like hanging out though. I mean, it's just online and we get to be comfortable. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, I like it so much.
Yeah, Kelly's hanging out eating Pop-Tarts right now. This is what's so great about virtual events.
No shame in Pop-Tart eating.
No way. As long as we have pants on.
That's fine too. I can't see them.
We don't know.
Just do you. Just do you. It's fine. We're living in a national trauma.
Well,
the events.
So my name is Louise, and I've been at Katie Budget Books for only about a year, but I've been a shopper there for 16 years now. So about as soon as I got here. I love the store, and we are super excited to be helping with this virtual launch. Sophie Jordan is a local favorite, and we love to have her in. So this is for her first book in the Duke Hunt series. The Duke goes down.
You can say it's a lot of fun to say.
It is a lot of fun to say. I hope we hear more about that.
Yeah, I'm here for that.
Let's see here. I'm going to start into yes.
My signed book is coming from Katie, so I don't have it yet.
So Sophie Jordan grew up in the Texas Hill Country, where she wove fantasies of dragons, warriors, and princesses. A former high school English teacher, she's the New York Times, USA Today, and international best-selling author of more than 30 novels. She now lives in Houston with her family. When she's not writing, she spends her time overloading on caffeine, lattes preferred, talking plot lines with anyone who will listen, including her kids, and cramming her DVR with anything that has a happily ever after. We are also joined tonight by the fabulous Sarah MacLean, New York Times, Washington Post, and USA Today bestseller. Sarah MacLean is the author of historical romance novels that have been translated into more than 20 languages. Sarah is a leading advocate for the romance genre, speaking widely in its place at the nexus of gender and cultural studies. A romance columnist and co-host of the weekly romance novel podcast, Fated Mates, highly recommended. Her work in support of romance and those who read it earned her a place on Jezebel.com's She Rose list and led Entertainment Weekly to call her the elegantly fuming, utterly intoxicating queen of historical romance. Sarah is a graduate of Smith College and Harvard University. She lives in New York City. All right, with that, ladies, I'm going to say thank you very much. I'm going to go on mute and get rid of the video. The floor is yours.
Thank you.
Wow. It's just you and me and everybody else.
Sophie Jordan, it's your release week.
Yes. But I have to show you what I'm wearing.
I know. I saw.
Did you see?
I noticed. Of course,
Everybody
I
else.
instantly noticed. Stand up.
There's great
I wish we had,
appreciation
you
for
should have
this.
told me that you were wearing that. I would have worn
did you
mine
point
and
out?
we could have been twins.
Well, everybody, Sarah gave me this Golden Girls shirt. I got Dorothy in the streets, Blanche in the sheets.
Because here's the truth, you guys, don't tell anyone. We're just going to keep it between us. But Sophie and I have like a whole plan for like eventually our husbands will be out of the picture and we will just Golden Girls our way.
Talk about our Golden Girls days with much anticipation.
The end.
Probably really a little alarming.
It's fine. They don't have any idea.
When I think he might have a suspicion.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes.
I'm so excited. I love you. I love this book. I love this whole series idea. And I'm so excited to be talking about it. I'm so excited people get to finally read it.
Oh, so
Because I feel like we've been talking about it for so long.
we do. We talk about everything before we even start writing it. But yeah, the Duke Goes Down. Look, I have my postcard because I'm still waiting. I signed books for everybody, pre-orders at Katie Butcher Books, and then my package is delayed. And you have yours on your phone.
I
love
do.
the folder. I love everything about the cover, including the title. So should I tell about the title, how that happened?
Yeah, that was amazing. I was hoping you would start there.
So I have, so this book is about a duke, a disinherited duke. He finds out he's illegitimate. At the start of the novel, this has already happened and he's lost everything, title, rank, property. He's like living at home with mom. I mean, it doesn't sound that romantic when I say it.
I mean, he really is living at home with mom.
He's
And it's
like,
kind of
he's like that quintessential guy who comes back, goes bankrupt to live in his mom's basement. But he's like, this cannot last. I have to get out of this situation fast and find an heiress. But I was thinking about titles, and usually I've been fortunate enough that the last few titles, I came up with them on my own. I don't know how that's necessary. At least it's in my list. And Avon responds positively. And they're like, we really like this one. So that's the one we'll go with. It didn't always used to be that way. I think I had at least 20 books before I ever started getting good enough at making my own titles. So on my short list of titles was The Duke Goes Down. Because, he like literally, he has fallen down in life, but
he also goes down.
And he'll also go down, I'm sure, because I'm going to write the book. I thought it was just a funny thing, and I put it in the short list in the email to my editor, and in parentheses I wrote "ha ha," and I sent it to her, and I'm like, "No way,
Batman would never."
Yes, and then she replied back, "Oh my gosh, everybody likes that one," and she was still really calm about it, kind of like. And I emailed back, "Are you sure? Like, everywhere will carry it, right? Like, I'm not going to have certain retailers say, whoa, we can't carry it because it's a little."
Because that sometimes happens where like you'll come up with an idea and it's like too salacious for
exactly. That was the word I was thinking too. Like, maybe it's too salacious. Certain vendors will be like, oh, we can't do this. No. And then so I asked her, and then she came back. The next email was, oh my God, I didn't realize the double entendre there, but everybody loves it, like the whole team loved it, and they're going to go check and ask everyone if it's okay. But I love it. I don't know. Do some people not pick up on it maybe the first time they hear it?
I guess not. I mean, or maybe it just speaks really ill of us. Like, we have our own, obviously, like we talk like you know,
Right.
multiple times a week. I talk to Sophie more than I talk to, you know, my mother. But the and then we also have like multiple text threads, and it dropped into all of the text threads, and literally everyone we knew was like, that's amazing. But maybe we're just all dirty, and that's why we're all friends.
That gutter mind. And then when she emailed back, yes, it's good. The understanding is it has to have the most incredible cunnilingus. And I was like, well, that is understood. I mean, that is a promise I am making with this title.
Yeah.
Spent a great deal.
Like Erica, who is the head of like Avon Publishing, is like, oh, I knew from the start.
Erica picked it up from the start. I remember, because my editor it took her a second, but yeah.
No, but don't you feel like now, you know, there are definitely like Sophie Jordan titles now. Like every once in a while, I'll send you a text, like I'll think of a title and I'll be like, no, that's a Sophie book. And I feel like in historicals, at least, you definitely, it feels that way. Like you can hear a title and say like, that's a that person title.
And I mean, when I'll send you ideas that I have, you'll be like, that's a Sophie title. It. Yeah. You definitely have that objectivity that maybe I lack a little. I'm too close to it because ever since, I guess like the last 8 books, like I feel like I have a handle on.
Okay, but let's talk about this series, right? It's called The Duke Hunt.
All right.
And let me tell you, Sophie, I can remember we were on the phone. So it was pre-pandemic when we like had when you pitched the series idea, and like we had this conversation because I can remember where I was. I was sitting at a table in like the cafe that I usually work at. And it was you came up with this idea, and we were like talking through what this series would be about. So tell everybody what they're in for.
So the Duke Hunt, first of all, I knew I wanted that strong sense of community. I like to surround it in a community, a town or a village, and get to know this place. I don't know. I guess that's just something that feels good and cozy to me in my heart, right? Like this whole town and everybody belongs to it. I mean, I guess a lot of people can hate that too, right? If you grew up in a small town, you want to get the hell out as fast as you can. But I love it for the sake of a series and a book series. It's great. It's great fodder, lots of characters and people. And my idea was that I'd start this book with a disinherited Duke, but then the next 3 books, it's all about, like, the series is called The Duke Hunt. I mean, it's all about who he is, there's a big question mark there. And they're waiting for him in book 1. When's the new Duke going to show up? Who's the new Duke going to be? And gosh, there's so many spoilers here now, Sarah.
I know, it's so twisty. Okay, what I'll tell you is that it's like super twisty turny. And wait, and how many of the heroines have we met so far at this point?
We have met all of them.
All, yeah. Okay.
So Mercy is the best friend of
Mercy.
Imogen. So she's kind of my lady farmer. And I picked these heroines that are all sort of extraordinary, and they have agency in their life to some degree, right? There's the lady vicar, the lady farmer, the lady blacksmith. And then I hate to even name the 4th because by the 4th, I could change my mind. Like, so
I know, but also you want to keep it.
Exactly.
Fine.
So in this series, this overarching series in the village of Shropshire, is the question of who the Duke's going to be. Is he going to show up? And there's here's what I love about this book. I love that the setup. So you started with him, but I think it's really interesting. So Imogen, who is our heroine, the book really begins with her, right? It begins with her 10 years earlier. Everyone knows I love a 10 years earlier heroine. Because what we need to, you do time slip this one. You're right. I love time slip.
I know, it's so good. It's so hard to write, but so fun to read. So we meet Imogen, and it's 10 years ago, and she's like, really poor Imogen. She's like dressed in terrible clothing, like at this Duke's house. And suddenly we realize, and over the course of the book and all the time slip moments, we sort of see that this Duke, this boy, he's like a boy king, right? Yeah. So like he's raised from birth as like, you're the most powerful person. Everybody wants to marry you. Everybody, you're perfect in all ways. And so he's really terrible. He's terrible about
Or
her.
the little lordling, you know? Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which honest to God, like all dukes are probably pretty terrible when they're growing up, right?
I
And
mean,
so poor
we all
Imogen
know
is
that.
stuck in a like cupboard in a room,
Right.
overhearing him be terrible to her.
And his friends.
And I love this. This is like my catnip.
And his friends. She finds herself the subject of their conversation, which, you know, she's at this garden party because, you know, vicars are kind of like his father at this time, who was still alive, loved her dad, loved having the vicar over. They would shoot the breeze about philosophy and politics and the world. And so her dad was always invited there, even though, and it was like, she's like, hey, here I am. I don't belong with these people, nor do I want to be around them, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And so can I spoil the kind of beginning, which is
Yeah,
like
I think it's the
that
beginning.
he and his friend, it's the first chapter, but it's like he and his friends are all talking, and basically he says like, well, she's fine to look at, but you know, you'd have to put a bag over her personality to get me to fuck her, which is terrible.
Horrible. I mean, and I've heard that expression about putting a bag over someone's head, and I think it's the cruelest thing ever. And I don't want to go that far, but he pretty much says, yes, you have to put a bag over her personality, which is still super
Terrible. Terrible. And then 10 years later, it's like she's been biding her time, and and suddenly like everything has fallen into place. Like the universe, karma, and the universe have come calling, and he's lost his dukedom, and he's lost his fortune, and he's lost his estate, and he lives with his mom, and she finally has her shot to just like pull him down off of his high horse.
Yeah.
And she does.
She does. And,
by telling people a number of things, including that he's a terrible kisser. So
that's the first rumor. There's some horrible rumors. Like, it's a real balance. I was back and forth with my editor. Like, what about this rumor? What about that one? Because, you know, someone called this out.
He can't be super terrible.
And once the arc started floating out, people were like, oh, it's an enemies to lovers. And I was like, it's an enemies to lovers? Oh, damn, I wrote an enemies to lovers. I love reading them. I do not love writing them because they're so difficult to get that balance right. To like, you can understand and have empathy for what each of them is doing, saying, how they're treating each other. It was tricky. And I mean, my editor, I was like, she starts rumors because she's like, this guy does not deserve to marry an heiress and ruin that woman's life. She comes from that place at the beginning. And of course she has her, he was her childhood nemesis. He hurt her feelings really badly.
So she doesn't have a whole lot of sympathy for him, which is fine. It's fine. He was a boy king and now he's not. And maybe he deserves it a little bit.
I mean, he does. And I did have some worse rumors that she was going to spread. And we were like, no, that's.
I mean, she spread some pretty bad rumors and I'm not going to spoil them, but she does spread one, which is that he's a bad kisser. And that one cannot stand, Sophie Jordan. It cannot stand.
It was a good setup, right? I was like, well, the only way to prove you're not a bad kisser, you got to do what you got to do.
Okay, but here's the thing that I love the most. So in that moment, right, I want to talk about this kiss because you're right. Obviously it's there and like readers are like delighted and like humming, ready, like vibrating at a fever pitch to get there, to get to the moment where he's going to prove that he's not a bad kisser. But suddenly, oh boy, Imogen's not a bad kisser either. And so then like her whole past really unlocks in this like beautiful way so it's suddenly like as a reader, you're so sympathetic to poor Imogen's like whole struggle as like just being alone in the world with her like old dad who's like not a great companion.
And she has a past. And I think, I've written over 30, I don't even know now. I mean, over 30 novels, I couldn't tell you, over 20 historicals, but you can't, I like writing now myself as a woman of God, can I say I'm a woman of a certain age? Does that mean I'm even old?
I'd rather you not.
I didn't like that. I didn't like it either. It like stuck in my throat.
No, don't say that.
woman.
of a certain experience. How about that?
I want to write women who have experiences, who have a history, and who've lived. Not necessarily eager to write, a fresh out of the schoolroom girl. Although I say that today, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? I probably will, but I could very well. It's just, I wanted to bring experience into her. I wanted to make her story unique. And she has a history, she's had, a disappointing relationship.
And I think one of the things, I think right now, like and I know that you and I have talked about this, outside of Zoom, but I think right now we're really in this like heyday of remarkable historicals where the heroines of historicals are really like beautifully complex characters now, in a way that like when you and I started reading historicals like back in the day, they were just like perfect specimens of like feminine humanity with like birds alighting on their shoulders, and they were like perfect in all ways. And now you have these heroines who like really are, how did you describe your women? Like you wanted all of them to be
to have agency, even in my next book. Well, and every book kind of starts with, you got to have a conflict in every book, or what's the story. So there's some threat to their happiness in their life. There's something there hanging over them. But at the same time, I just wanted them to have agency and be somewhat extraordinary. I think all women are not like cardboard cutouts of each other.
No, and this is what I think is happening in historicals right now. Like I feel like everybody who's writing like great historicals right now, you, Diana Quincy, Joanna Shoup, Lisa Kleypas, like others are all writing these heroines who have like agency, purpose, identity beyond the hero. And like the hero, when he turns up, complicates things.
Right.
Because, she's her own person at the start of the story. So the goal is, so when the two of them finally end up falling in love, like they have to learn to be in love with each other, instead of it being like he's so perfect in all ways and she's so perfect in all ways, and they just have to get over whatever that silly conflict is.
And then in 10 years you're sure they're not happy, but by then the book's over.
Right.
No, you're absolutely right. Like this is what I think, writing different characters, a different heroine, a different hero, this is what keeps me able to keep doing this. This is why I can continue writing historical romances. Every book, it doesn't feel the same to me, No. Even though some of the familiar tropes might come up, it's going to be a different story because the characters are different.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, so we know now about the series, we know about the story. Tell us a bit about the writing of this, because you wrote it. The dedication of this book is for everyone who survived 2020, which does feel like an accomplishment. You're all still here.
I mean, it feels a long time ago. Last summer feels a long time ago. I wrote this book last summer. I was writing this book, during lockdown, which, by the way, wait, is my sticker's way over there. Do you have your sticker? I think I sent it to you. That Diana Quincy and I came up, did those stickers. Is it nearby?
Yeah.
All right.
Hang on, I'm just rolling away for a second.
I wrote this book in the dead of the pandemic and the lockdown. And I mean, truly, with my husband, there's the sticker.
Romance novels got me through lockdown.
Please preach. And Diana came up with that saying. We were playing around with sayings about books and reading and during the lockdown, and we were like, this is so true.
Yeah.
It was definitely a time where it was easier to read a book than write a book. but I had to do it. I had a deadline, and I pushed through it. And you would think all that solitude and time at home, right? It would have been easier, but there was the world. There were so many distractions, and I have older kids, and it was very difficult keeping them at home. So we were all, it was cabin fever. writing The Duke Goes Down during it, and I did make that dedication. It felt so it felt so appropriate.
But also I think like Imogen has that feel of like, there's something very human, like I've been talking about how human Imogen feels, but there is something really familiar about her in that she does feel like kind of alone, like her life is like on hold.
I think,
And it felt very like
I think
present
she
to
might have
me.
had trap. I think there might have been, if it came across, like, because I'm thinking about it now, they definitely were in a place where probably both the hero and heroine feel, Imogen and Perry feel trapped. Which is
Yeah, by
very
like
accurate,
circumstances sort of
yeah, like,
outside of their control. And it really
right,
resonated with me as a book of a time, like a book that
yeah.
maybe wouldn't have been written outside of 2020.
I
And
think,
so, and
yeah,
I think that's so interesting right now. Like, I think the crop of romances that are coming out this year are books that were written like during a pandemic, which is
I know.
really fascinating.
I think if you think about that, right, as you're reading them, and come at it with that lens. Yeah, like, I'm like, yeah, maybe she did seem a little desperate and trapped in her bubble. Even though she has agency, she's perfectly aware of the fact that when her dad dies, she's on her own. Like, he's the vicar,
Yeah.
and the vicarage goes back to the dukedom, and her future is very much up in the air and at the
Yeah.
mercy of men.
Yeah. And it's great because it feels like, I mean, I love a heroine who's backed against a wall, and I know you do too. So,
Sure.
so, um, but I also think like your books recently have been so, I mean, you and I have talked about this so much that like romance always reflects the world that we're in. And it really does feel like your books recently have been really very cool about the way that they reflect like agency, sexual identity, owning, women owning themselves.
Yeah.
And I wonder if you think about that ever, that how your books have changed over
I
the
definitely think
time.
that I'm more aware of that. I guess, we write these books that are set in a time of conventions and restraint. And I think I used to just sort of write it, and there's my heroine going along for the ride and the conflict. But now I write these books where she's conscious about it. I
Mhm.
thread that consciousness in. Like, she's very conscious and aware of the conventions and the restraint, and she'll even verbalize it to the hero when he'll say, I think I have a part in this book where she's like, you want to know what's not fair, this is what's not fair, that when my dad's gone, this is my life, oh, you have it tough, listen to what I have to deal with too. Like, I don't think I ever, at least starting out as a young writer, was maybe able or in a place to do that.
Mhm.
But yeah, you grow, you develop as a
Well, you
writer.
don't have a choice,
I
right? Because it's
know.
also like writing the same book over and over again. Just
Yeah.
it's not fun. You want to keep it
No,
fun.
no, I
You
do. And I
all
think
readers wouldn't have as much fun.
that,
I do want to say if you have questions for Sophie or for me, you can drop them in the Q&A box, which is at the bottom of your screen, and we'll take them as we go. So do that.
I did promise some giveaways tonight, and I
Oh
wanted to
yeah.
give away a couple of these little beauties. This is my YA Regency romance, very rompy. It came out in May. I did not write this book in the pandemic, but it released during the beginning of the pandemic. So yeah, there's probably a difference in tone.
No.
Plus, it's young adult. It's young adult. So, but it's good.
Um,
I mean, it's good for I like to think I wrote this for my historical readers, but also a book that you can read with your daughter, and talk about it. And let's grow those young
and
ladies, grow them into the
Mar-
genre.
Marlene is asking where they can get these stickers. Can these stickers go with those books? Do you
That
have
is
extras?
true. I do have extra. I'd say I have about 25 extra. And Diana Quincy as well, who's released this week with me. And we should talk about, speaking of
Oh yeah.
extraordinary heroines, Diana also has some too. So, but if you win a book from me tonight, I'll put a sticker in it. Also, if you order a book from Katie Budget, until they run out, I will throw them in there. I'll sign it and I'll throw in one of those little the vinyl stickers until, like I said, I have about 30 probably, it looks like. So.
And everybody here ordered a book already from Katie. So
yeah, then
right.
I'll
so they'll be getting the stickers with them.
I'll put a sticker. I'll go down. It's not a hardship to drive over to Katie Budget Books, so and sign and stickers.
Yeah, so Diana has a book out today. You came out with some pretty big people this week.
There was a lot of good books that came out this week.
It's a great week for historicals. My Kindle is extremely happy.
Yes.
Diana's book, I'm trying to get the title to pull up, but it's not working. But her book is called The Viscount Made Me Do It.
Yes, I love it.
And it's about a lady bone setter.
I love it.
So like lady vicars, lady blacksmiths, lady farmers, lady bone setters.
And she's just truly a badass heroine.
Yeah. I mean, so was Diana's last book. Diana's last book was Her Night with the Duke.
Her Night with the Duke. That's the first in the series, right? Yeah. So
and the hero meets the heroine on the Great North Road. Like it's washed out and he has to stop for the night, and he walks into a tavern, like a inn/tavern, and there's a lady in a knife fight with a bunch of jerks, and that's the heroine in a knife fight. It's great.
She has great openings. The opening
A+.
Her bone setter opening was pretty dramatic as well, you know, and she was talking to me a little bit about it. Like, I mean, they were really like, you know, the orthopedics of the day, but at the same time, they weren't. Of course, she's a woman, but you know, she was not in a position where she was given respect at all. Like so many people just thought her a quack, even though she really knows what she's doing. She's a she's a legitimate bone setter.
It's very cool.
And there's mystery in it, so I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Lisa wants to know more about your lady blacksmith, though. So can you tell her a little about her?
Blacksmith is going to be the number 3. So I guess, you know, it's up for pre-order online. The second book, who's, you know, Mercy's book, and I have a title. You know it.
Can you share all your titles?
My title. The cover's not up yet. I just haven't been very. I mean, the title appeared and the summary went online the same week the book came out. I just didn't want to muddy the waters and distract everybody. But yes, it is up for pre-order. The second book in the Dukan is called The Rake Gets Ravished. A little flip there, a little flippity flip. Perfect. So, and that is, again, I had this character of agency. She's a landowner. She owns this great property and farm outside town, and she seems very competent and capable, and everything seems okay kind of in her world. And the Duke goes down where you meet her, but it turns out her brother gambles away, loses it all. Brothers.
Scoundrel, rascal.
I mean, the notes from my editor, how much she despises the brother, but he's just a hapless fool, you know? So he gambles away the home, and she's like, I got to get my home back. So she takes off to London, and I mean, I guess
I love it.
I mean, it's sort of there in the summary. It's so weird. I always like tighten up. Like, I don't want to be too spoiled.
I know. You don't want to share too much. But also, I think this is very cool because I remember when we were talking about this, we were talking about how you don't usually write London. You almost never write London.
No.
So what was that like? I mean, we should probably do that. We should. I'll ask this question again when we talk about that book.
I know she's not there too long, of course, but I mean, she goes off to London. He's the owner of this, you know, very popular gaming hell who now is in possession of the voucher to her property, and she's like, "Well, I got to get the voucher back," you know. So she is caught rummaging through his things looking for the voucher. And you know, he walks in on her and she's like, well, what am I going to say? I'm here to steal the voucher, or I'm here for you. So it was fun. And
smash that pre-order button, everybody.
I think my editor thought it was so sexy. And I think I'm like, what? Wait, she's really reacting to how sexy this book is. And then it dawned on me, like, the books where things happen really early, you know,
Yeah.
these things like in my Virgin and the Rogue, this
Yeah.
book
Yeah.
sort of really, really early in the first chapter, things are happening because she's caught with him and is, you know, she uses her wiles. It's called The Rake Gets Ravished. So take it from there, you know?
But here's the thing about you though, and I think anybody who's in the room who's like a writer or thinking about writing, one of the really cool things about Sophie's books is that she is so good. You are so good at coming up with like a really tight concept, right? And I've been with you when you've had so many of these ideas. Like I can remember taking a walk in Kiowa Island, South Carolina, and talking about that aphrodisiac book. And it's a moment where you're like, well, I'm writing an aphrodisiac book now, but then at the end, like the woman who came up with we have to see how the aphrodisiac works on a man, right? And then suddenly the whole thing flips and that's the next book. And it's just like such a my problem with my books is like, the plots are gigantic and like, who even knows what they're about until I'm, 80%
There's like 200,000 words later. No, we love your
whole thing because I can't figure out I have no idea what I'm doing until I get to the end of a draft. But like you always I feel like you always know, like you have that seed of a really great idea. Do you have a trick that you can share with people about like, what's the best way to come up with something super?
I feel like I can get the hook and the premises really well, but then I have to call you to help me through the endings too. Endings are the worst. I'm telling you, sometimes the endings present themselves early. And when they do, those are always easier books to write. I mean, when you know where it ultimately,
we know where you're going,
which you tend to do at the end in your final books of the
series. Here's the difference. I'm a really slow writer because I won't start until I know the end, right?
So kind of like just easy.
I'm not a plotter at all, but like I have to know where I'm going.
Right.
But you always have like such a good hook and then you just like sail through.
I start the hook and then halfway through I'm like, okay, now what? Now I know everybody and we plot.
But that's true for everybody. The middle's hard.
Lucky, like you said, in the fact that when I was writing The Virgin and the Rogue and I knew it was an aphrodisiac book, obviously that was the whole, premise of that story, and that one sister invented it and gave it to her other sister, and that's the heroine. I knew, I was like, well, now we got to see how this thing plays out if a man takes it.
I mean,
that just seems very
inspired. I mean, so Kelly is asking, what was your favorite way to escape during the pandemic besides reading? Was there anything you binged? So something I'm going to share about my friend Sophie is that she binge watches everything.
I do.
You've seen everything.
I watch.
Don't forget to leave questions in the box.
Between reading, I mean, let's think. In the summer, what did I discover? I felt like,
I don't know. It's always something weird. It's always like, it's Vikings, but they're murdering everybody.
I know. I'm
normal. Like, Viking murder is fine. It's like Vikings, but they're also vampires.
Real, like, I mean, serious. And I'll even watch campy stuff. Like a month ago, I went through all the like what's it called? Z Nation. Like, it's sci-fi and it's campy. Sometimes that's what you need, almost like something that is so far out and cleanse my palate. It doesn't take itself too seriously at all, and that's the beauty of that show. Although oh my God, there was one scene, Sarah, you would have loved it. It's not a romance, it's zombies, right? And there's a scene where it's like 4 of them standing and they've accidentally set off this is how campy it is. They accidentally set off a bomb to end the world. The last resort, they went and they're like, oh crap, we were trying to do this thing and I've ended the world now. And they're watching this missile fly, and it's a guy and a girl, and it's 3 men, and the girl goes, is that it? Are we all gonna die? And the old man in the group, he's like, yep. And she's a badass. She was in the military. She pulls off all her guns, her ammo. She flings them to the ground, and she turns around and jumps the bones of the guy next to her, who is the only young, good-looking guy. And they go down hard on the ground, and it's the 2 older men. And the old guy goes, could have seen that coming.
Yes.
The world is ending, and that's your moment to seize. As a romance writer, I love that scene so much. I'm like, that's something that, I will file away that image and remember it. You never know.
Apparently it's shot in Spokane, Lisa says, so that's fun.
That's good.
Yeah. Heather wants to know who are both of our favorite romance authors to read. So
are we talking like, what do you think, like currently, old school?
I think it has to be currently. Let's recommend some books. That's my favorite thing to do.
Okay.
So well, I already said Diana Quincy. I think she is amazing. I love Joanna Shupe more than
next one. I love Joanna Shupe's novels.
If you haven't read those the Devil of Downtown and the Prince of Broadway, what are they called? The Uptown Girls series.
Yep.
Oh my God, they are perfect.
She's one of those writers who also the characters are so unique, and they feel so real and human. And yes, absolutely. Yeah. I don't know, my contemporary love. Probably my contemporary is Tessa Bailey, right?
Oh, and that new one, oh my God, it's so sexy.
I've always
been
such a fan.
Do not judge that book by its cover. It is
Bring the heat.
5 chili peppers, as Priscilla Oliveros would say.
So, I mean, I've always devoured her books.
I really love Adriana Herrera, who is writing kind of all over the place now. Like she's written some for Harlequin. She's written some, she's writing a series of category romances right now that are based on telenovelas. The most recent one is called 1 Week to Claim It All, and it is like the most soapy, delicious category ever. And I actually just read the manuscript for her new historical.
I've been dying to read her.
Oh, it's so good. It's set in Paris and Edinburgh. You're going to love it. It's set in Paris and Edinburgh in the 1890s. And the heroines are all Dominican heiresses. And it is fabulous. One of them the first book begins at the World's Fair in Paris. And the heroine turns up and she has the family business is rum from the DR. And, but she's also passionate about making these tinctures and tonics and herbal drinks. And the hero owns a distillery in Scotland.
Oh,
and is also,
of course they're going to come together. That's brilliant.
It's hot too. So put that on your list. That's coming out next summer.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the series by Liana De La Rosa. They're
oh, does she have a new one coming?
Yeah, well, and I don't know the exact release date, but I read the announcement. So the 3 heroines are sisters, and their father works for the Mexican embassy, I think, in London.
Ooh, I'm here for that.
Maybe he's a diplomat, and he's there with the daughters.
Sure.
So, and I mean, I forget it was a very enticing summary, the little pitch.
I just finished Alexis Daria's A Lot Like Adios, which is great. So she's doing a series, surprising no one. I like any series that is connected by women friends, or in this case, cousins. But these cousins are, delightfully friendly with each other. They're best friends and also related. And that's the sequel to You Had Me at Hola, which came out last year and was also terrific. So A Lot Like Adios comes out in September, but yeah, You Had Me at Hola was last year. Hi.
I have had such a great time listening to you guys. I just want to say, for the record, I'm very happy with how agency is coming up, even in the romance genre. I was just talking to my oldest daughter, and my youngest too was there, the 16 and 19, about how we need to be seen all the time as complete people, not as characters, not as parodies. So I really love that that is happening, because I'm a lot like you guys. I started reading the 80s, stealing my mom's romance novels.
I began.
So I want to say that this has been a lot of fun. I could let you guys go on for hours, but then we would probably all get in trouble. So I wanted to point out that you do get to meet the lady forger and all of those kids. They're very well done. One of the things that I really liked about Imogen in this is that even though she understood that her future might be bumpy, she was not going to quit. And she didn't need this man. So I love this story, and it was absolutely perfect for having come through the pandemic. I did think that this was kind of a bright light at the end of a tunnel. So I really, really enjoyed the story. And I heard that we would get to talk about another book.
Sarah.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I remember when we were talking about titles and we started talking about Bombshell and saying, wouldn't it be cool if I could use that as the title? And then we were like, wait, why can't you?
Right.
Why not?
Yeah.
I love the
Well,
fact that it is book one of the Hell's Bells series.
Hell's Bells. My husband, for those of you who are ancient like us, my husband thinks that I should send everybody like old vinyl records from AC/DC. So get ready, you guys. Check your mailboxes.
You're gonna have to get a lot of them, Sarah.
I know, yeah, I'm buying them up on eBay. Like, but yeah, and I'm doing an event with Katie, Budget Books, and Sophie on August 24th for Bombshell. So we'll talk about it more then.
Yes.
Well, we are really excited. Are we going to pick winners tonight?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, and I said I would throw in copies of the season 2, which is my YA.
Well, I mean, I am throwing out, Lisa did contribute a little Z Nation trivia. I think that
yeah,
she might be the only person.
All right. So
Natalie, let's pick Natalie too. Yeah. I'm just looking through these names, but pick one more,
Natalie.
Share.
Yeah, all right. We got another one. You want to do one more?
You pick. We have 3, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I feel like I should
just scroll and stop in the first name you see.
Ariella.
Ariella.
I landed on you, honey, right there. All right.
All right. And let's see, I also wanted to point out that there are, you can go and buy a second copy, a third copy, buy some for your whole family.
Send
More
them to your friends.
Yes. At Katie Budget Books of The Duke Goes Down. And we're super excited because we got some tips on what's coming up next. So everybody keep that in mind. And definitely sign up for the virtual launch for Bombshell. I'm going
to put the URL for signing up for the Bombshell launch in the chat for everyone.
Oh, I think I did. I think I put it in there.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Yep. And there should also be a link for signing up to buy more signed books in the chat as well, if I did it right. Let's see here. The other thing is we wanted to make sure that everybody knows that we have all of our events online. So, and we are going to, I know that you guys had talked about this a little bit at the beginning. We are going to continue to do virtual attendance for those who are most comfortable, even after events start in the store. So I want to make sure that everybody feels as comfortable and as safe as possible. Let's not have another let's not have another lockdown.
Sounds great.
And
Everybody. So wait, so those 3 winners can just send their addresses to KB.
yeah, please. Yeah,
Okay.
send me your email addresses, or even better, send us an email, and I will make sure that we get this out. We'll get all these taken care of. Was there anything else in closing? I had a great time. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you all for coming, and thank you, Sophie, for inviting me. And thanks for
you.
writing a great book.
Thank you for making my evening so happy.
I know. Thanks for making my pandemic less awful, Sophie. Thanks for being my friend.
Well, thanks. Same back to you. Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Good night. Thank you to everyone who showed up tonight. And with that, make sure you send me an email if you're a winner. Thank you again, authors. It was awesome.
Bye. Thanks for having us, Katie.